You smile like the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know, you don't know you're beautiful. Queen Diva Marie, I think I'm all ready to go on that date with that girl I've been talking to for a while. Any last words of advice?
Well, you know I am the love expert, so I'm sure tonight we'll go, whoa!
Go! What?
What? Do you plan on taking her to a toilet seat throwing competition? Oh, or maybe y'all can change a muffler together? I'm just trying to figure out what's going on with your look right now.
Actually, I just figured I'd jump a couple stages ahead in this whole dating process and make this young woman fall in love the first time she sets eyes on this.
And how do you plan on doing that looking like that?
Queen Diva Marie, isn't it obvious? This look has allowed Dirty Dom to be an absolute female magnet. I mean, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Roxy, his wife. I've been talking to this woman for weeks now, and I'm just gonna go straight for the heart tonight.
I'm not sure that will work, but hey, on the bright side, at least you have a great personality.
Whoa, wait, aren't you supposed to be meeting that girl tonight finally?
As a matter of fact, I am, come here, Alexa. Bay Phoenix. That's my pet name for her.
That's so cringe. What's her actual name?
Oh, Christina? Kristen? Oh, maybe it was Christy? Oh, I remember what it was. I think it was Sophia.
It doesn't matter. She's going to get one look at you and be out that restaurant door.
Oh, stop it! Tonight's dinner is going to be magical. I mean, this woman has it all. She's beautiful. She's kind. She's sweet. She loves wrestling. And she actually messaged me first.
A pretty girl interested in you? Something's off. Can I come and watch this inevitable disaster?
No, you can't come. But I better get going. I have dinner reservations for 6. I don't have a watch. But either way, I gotta make it back in time to review the brand new Liv Morgan Elite Series 119. So, Queen Diva Marie, thank you for your input. Much love. Come here, Alexa. Thanks for nothing! See you ladies later.
Yeah, come here, Alexa. Do you think Mayor Aaron might be getting catfished?
I know he is.
Wait, how do you know he is?
I'm the one who has been chatting with him with a fake profile. He is just like you. Not a lot going on between his ears.
That's mean! Poor Mayor Aaron is going to be crushed. Shame on you!
Are you still waiting on someone to join you?
No. I think I got stood up. I don't think she's coming.
I'm sorry, sir. Would you like to order anything to eat?
I mean, I could always order some chicken nuggies.
How many, sir?
All of them. I want all of your nuggies. Hey y'all, welcome to LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. Now before we get started, I just remind you to please hit subscribe to become an official resident of LJV and get a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews like today's much anticipated review of WWE Elite Series 119 Liv Morgan. Now it has been 2 years since we got a Liv Morgan in the Elite line. It was Elite 103, came out 2 years ago, and it's much overdue. She is much overdue to have this Elite, so I'm glad to have it in hand. Now, the face scan sculpt did cause some controversy online. I will say that I believe it's a reused scan and sculpt, so we'll take a closer look at it when we review the figure itself. But the one thing I am going to say, and we'll cover it in detail when I cover the packaging, is my packaging on all three Livs that I got from ringside, it appears like the plastic kind of melted away. She's all angled at a weird angle, so I don't know if they got crushed or if that plastic melted if it was left out in the sun, but it's weird. So we'll take a closer look in the next segment when we cover the packaging. But either way, I'm excited to have a brand new Liv. We'll cover the face sculpt and scan later, see if it's really bad or if it actually is good in hand. Now that being said, let's jump right into the packaging itself. Alright, so let's start off by taking a closer look at the packaging, and let me cover what I'm talking about here. So, Liv is angled to the side, kind of facing that way. She's not supposed to be, I don't think. And if you look inside, it looks like that plastic bubble was either crushed or partially melted. Now you think, okay, it's just that one, but let me show you the other two Livs that I got. That one, same thing, that plastic looks like it's crushed or melted. And then the third Liv, same thing. So I don't know what went on with this shipment or why they would even send me out 3 crushed Livs, but you know, we'll take this one I'm reviewing today. We will take it out of the package and take a look at that plastic and see if we think it melted or if it got crushed, whatever. So, unfortunately, all 3 of the Livs do not look good MOC. I mean, that's just how it is. And I did want to keep one MOC. I wanted to review this one today and then have one on display. Maybe for fig photography or so. But either way, looking at the package, ignoring the smash or the melted plastic on the bubble, I mean, this Elite style package, it sucks. Let's just be honest. It's paper thin cardboard that could have had something to do with that bubble underneath. But we also have that limited window size. I mean, hopefully the Elite packaging gets a change. I think it should here soon. Hopefully in 2026 for sure. But yeah, so the package is nothing to write home about. But I do like the Liv Morgan figure, how it's displayed in there. If she wasn't, you know, kind of off to the side there on this one in particular. We have the Elite number, her name, and then an image of the beautiful and talented and awesome Liv Morgan, one of my favorite wrestlers in LumberJillville. We have an image of her on the side, her name on that side, and then on the back we have a nice big image there. We have her finisher, the Oblivion. We have her height, where she's from. And then we have this little blurb. The Liv Morgan Revenge Tour wouldn't end until Liv took everything from Rhea Ripley, the Women's World Championship, Judgment Day, and especially Daddy Dom. That is true, everybody. Now, let's cut this open here. And let's look at that plastic. Let's see what's going on, or what the frick happened to all 3 of my Livs, which is really disappointing. Because like I said, I did want to keep one mint on card, and all 3 of them just don't look good mint on card. So, okay, so what the heck happened here, y'all? Alright, so it does look like it was crushed, like completely crushed. All 3 of my bubbles on all 3 Liv Morgans I got were absolutely destroyed. Now, I'm not a mint on card collector, but a lot of the women's elites, I do like to have one MOC in case I meet them to get signed in the future. But yeah, that's terrible. I don't know. The box didn't look like it was damaged at all. So I don't understand the quality control here. But yeah, that plastic is completely crushed. At least the figure appears to be in good shape. So I'm going to carefully remove this figure and let's take a closer look. But yeah, I don't know whose fault that is, whether it's Ringside's or FedEx, but that is just terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. And all 3 of my Livs look like that. WWE Elite Series 119 Liv Morgan. This attire is from the July 8th, 2024 edition of Raw from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. On this night, Liv and Dom would defeat Rey Mysterio and Zelina Vega of LWO in a mixed tag team match. Now, Rhea Ripley would make her shocking return to confront Dom and Liv after the match. All right, some overall first impressions of this figure. I mean, I think it looks awesome, but I am going to say I'm pretty sure that plastic might have actually been melted because this figure, when I took it out of the bubble, all its joints are super loose. So I don't know if that's how the other two are. I don't know if my box was left out in the sun or what, but the joints are pretty loose, so that is a letdown. But the figure itself, I think it looks great, and I do think that face sculpt and scan has been reused. I think we previously saw it on her basic 110 figure and also her Elite 69 figure. Now, those are 5 to 6 year old scans, so when we cover the face sculpt and scan, we'll really do a comparison side by side, and we'll see if it is a reused one. But I think it looks okay in person. And like I said, we'll take an up-close look at that face sculpt and face scan in just a moment, but let's cover everything she comes with. She does come packaged with a grasping hand with the glove for her right side. Left side is a grasping left hand. We also have an open left hand with white nail polish. And then kind of an open gloved hand there with black nail polish. So that's really, really cool. Now, obviously, the main accessory she comes with is a big one. Especially if you missed out on that Ultimate Edition Rhea Ripley that came with that authentic scale ring, which is very expensive. We have the Women's World Championship, and this is an absolutely beautiful title. It might be one of my favorite Mattel scale titles. I just think this Women's World Championship is absolutely stunning, and I really, really love how we have the custom Liv side plates. That is very, very cool. And looking closely at the detail here, yeah, there's not a whole lot of writing on there, but there's definitely a lot of sculpting work. So I think this title looks good. Now, whether it's too big, too small, I think it's just right. I think it might be maybe a little too big, but I think it looks to be in scale with this figure, and it does look really, really cool. So, yeah. All right, so real quick, I wanted to do a comparison here between the Women's World Championship that came with the Rhea Ripley Ultimate and then the one that came with Liv's Elite today. Now, on top, we obviously have the Rhea Ripley Ultimate Edition Women's World Championship, and it does look better. The gold they used isn't as yellow. There seems to be a little bit more sculpting detail, and most importantly, it actually says World Champion in text that is missing on the Elite Scale one, and also the WWE logo is painted silver, whereas on the Elite Scale one, it is just left blank. Now, we see that a lot where the Ultimate Edition titles have more detail than the Elite style, but that couldn't have cost that much more to put those details on this Elite one. So, if you're looking for the best Women's World Championship, I would still go with that Rhea Ultimate, but I'm glad we at least got this version with the Liv, but a little disappointing that it doesn't have all the detail and work that went into the Ultimate Edition Women's World Championship. Alright, so let's cover the face scan, face sculpt, and hair sculpt, because a lot of people online were not a fan of the face sculpt and scan. Now, I immediately recognized it and thought that looks a lot like her basic 110 figure and Elite 69 figure, and those sculpts and scans were fantastic for the time period. Although I'm a little confused why they reused a sculpt and scan from 5 and 6 years ago, respectively. I don't understand, especially because they had better sculpts and scans in the pipeline. You know, they had Elite Series 85, which that face was freaking fantastic. I thought that likeness was amazing. Now, I will say, I think this sculpt and scan works a heck of a lot better than Elite 103. That Elite 103 Liv Morgan face sculpt and scan, it looked like Amber Heard. I mean, I could not stand that face. It looked nothing like Liv. So at least this does look like Liv Morgan. However, it does look a little off, and I think what makes it look a little off here is the jaw, the cheeks. They appear to be a little wider on this sculpt compared to her Elite 69 and compared to her basic 110. So that makes it look a little bizarre. Also, for going to the hair sculpt, I don't know why they had this little piece sculpted going over her forehead, because she usually has her hair back. We see a lot of her face and her forehead. A lot of times it's exposed, so to have that hair flipped over is a little freaking bizarre. Also, while we're talking about the hair sculpt, I wish they didn't just go with one color, just one shade of yellow. You know, Mattel takes one step forward and two steps back when it comes to the hair coloration of the women. That's a big part of their looks, right? And a lot of times we don't get highlights, we don't get root colored peppered in, and we don't get different shades of blonde. Sometimes we do, but oftentimes we don't. And here, this is disappointing. In 2025, we just have this one shade of yellow as her hair, and they called it a day, when Honestly, she should have streaks. She should have a dark root color up here. I think that would have really added to it. But I do like that the sculpt is super long. I think that's excellent. I think that's a beautiful part of the sculpt. I think my biggest issue is the color of it, just being one shade of blonde. And also a little confused by how it's sculpted on her forehead. That just kind of throws it off. So yeah, so talking about the face sculpt and face scan, I mean, it's all a preference thing. I did choose the best one that was printed on between the 3 that I ordered, and I do think this looks a lot like Liv. I really do. However, I think the sculpt looks a little bit wider here compared to the Elite 69 and Basic 110, and I think that's what throws it off. But honestly, I think it looks like Liv. It's just really disappointing that they reused an old sculpt and scan. Even though it worked great for her figures at the time, why did we not get a new one? Why didn't we get a new sculpt and scan? There's just no excuse for that. So it's really Mattel cutting corners on their women's figs, as we've seen time and time again. So that's unfortunate. But I honestly, having it in hand, I don't think it's as bad as a lot of the images made it look. And I do think it resembles Liv. But I agree, there is something a little bit off. So I think the body sculpt and the attire is the best part of the figure. This attire is really, really cool. Now, she has had some amazing attires the last couple years that I would have much preferred to see in the Elite line, but I think this one's a good start, and I hope it is just a start. I hope they have some Liv Elites, Liv Ultimates in the works with some of her really cool attire that we've seen the last year or so, but either way, this is a good start, and let's just hope that's what that is. I think the body part choices is good. You know, they made her pretty petite. The midsection is muscular, but they do a thing with Liv where they make her midsection super, super tiny. Now, her Elite 85, as much as I love that figure, I'm going to show you her waist on this figure was ridiculously tiny. It was like more narrow than her thigh, and that was a bit of a confusing choice there. Even though I think this is one of the best Elite women's figures, that was my only complaint here. And with this figure, it's definitely more proportionate. I think it looks a lot better. The skin tone's great, nice and tan. But like I said, it is kind of a simple attire that they chose to go with. Now, taking a closer look at the attire itself, we can see that she has these choker necklaces that are painted on. We have like the white necklace above the black one, which is painted really nice. The top is a uniquely sculpted top, which is very, very cool. It is painted to say Dirty Dom with Dom there, little WWE logo. That's definitely cool. This could have almost been a soft goods top, you know. I know sometimes the soft goods don't look good on these figures, but I think this could have been an issue, or it could have been a situation where she had ring attire underneath and they made a soft goods, really form-fitting Dirty Dom top. That would have been cool. But either way, this looks okay, and I do like the unique sculpt for that cut off there. Now on her right arm, she has this strap painted on. We have black around the bicep with little silver accents, and we have these design straps painted all the way down into her glove. Now her glove does have some sculpting there, which is cool, and we have some silver painted on intricately, which is definitely nice. So the glove hand does look good. Going to the other side here, there's really not a whole lot of deco. We do have white nail polish on the left hand, black on the right. Moving on down to her bottoms, we have this very unique piece here that doesn't seem to be removable, but it goes with the attire, and it's basically a white belt with some metallic silver chains hanging around. Great sculpting work there, honestly. I think it looks fantastic. We have a black strap painted around her thigh. The back of her bottoms have her logo there, which is painted pretty cool, pretty simple, but it looks good. And then moving on down to her boots, this is probably the most unique thing about this figure is these uniquely sculpted boots. These boots are fantastic. They might be one of the best boot sculpt molds that I've ever seen. And I say that because they actually incorporated the knee pads to go with the boot. So it doesn't affect that boot swivel. Does it? No, it does not affect the boot swivel articulation, but it does look like really tall boots here. So they did a great job making these knee pads unique and sculpted to fit in with the rest of the boot. But as you can see here, it's a black base color. A lot of sculpting and uniquely sculpted strap work here and buckles. And the white really pops out. I love the strings at the top sculpted on, and then the eyeballs. So yeah, I think this attire is really, really cool. Now, I would have much preferred to see Liv in ring attire. However, I think this is an excellent Elite to kind of start off her Liv Morgan Revenge Tour, Liv Morgan. And hopefully we see a lot more Elites and Ultimates in the future. I mean, that's what we're really going to hope for. And if so, then this is a great start. All right, it is time for probably my favorite segment, at least one of my favorite segments in all my reviews, where I compare previous figures to the one I'm currently reviewing. So on the way left, we have her very first Elite, which is Elite 69 Collector's Edition, released in 2019. Next up, we have Elite Series 85, released in 2021, one of the best Mattel women's figures of all time. It actually won the Jilly's 21 award for Women's Wrestling Figure of the Year for that year. And then the green and black one, we have the Money in the Bank Elite Series 103, released in 2023, which I was really disappointed by, we'll get into. And then we have today's Elite Series 119, released in 2025. So yeah, to me, first off, it's crazy that her last Elite was 2 years ago. This Money in the Bank Elite. Now, this figure, I suggest you keep mint on card because I think it looks better that way. You know, when I reviewed it, I was so let down by that face, which we did cover earlier in this video. But yeah, I think the sculpt and scan just looks terrible. So if we're just looking at all these and we're kind of eliminating my least favorite from my favorite, Elite 103, see ya, get out of here. So now we have these three here. Now on the far left, her very first Elite 69, the Riot Squad, Liv Morgan. That figure is amazing. It is a beautiful figure. Again, probably in my top 10 best women's wrestling elites, women's wrestling figures of all time. It is just a fantastic figure, especially for the time period. I did do a review. I might have reviewed it a couple times on the channel, so make sure to check that out if you're interested. But I love everything about this hair sculpt, this attire. It's just a beautiful figure. I will say, though, a little too tall. Too tall. Liv Morgan is a little bit shorter in stature, and this figure was a little too tall. But for the time period it came out, I thought it was excellent. Now, as you can see, that face sculpt and scan looks very familiar. And before we do a side-by-side there, we're going to talk about Elite 85. So Elite 85, as I mentioned, was the LumberJillville Women's Wrestling Figure of the Year for 2021, as voted by all of you, and it deserved it. It absolutely deserved that accolade. It is a fantastic figure. I love the likeness. I love the attire. She did come with a bathrobe, which I thought was a really weird accessory. I understand why they included it, but I wasn't a huge fan. But the figure itself is one of my favorites of all time. I mean, I just think this figure is stunning. I think it's beautiful. I love the hair sculpt. I think the likeness is unbelievably spot on to Liv. So, you know, if I had to choose my favorite Liv between all these three, I'm still going with Elite 85. I like today's Liv a lot, but I think they could have made some alterations or improvements to the figure to make it more modern day, you know. Give her hair a more realistic blonde with some dark highlights, dark root colors, make it more realistic to how Liv actually looks. And also give us a new face sculpt and scan. It's 2025. Why are they reusing a face sculpt and scan from 2019-2020? It just doesn't make sense. So if we're doing this here, let's just look at them side by side. You can see that the sculpt and scan does appear to be almost identical, but as I mentioned before, the cheeks and the chin appear to be a little more narrow in that Elite 69, and I think that's what really made it look better. So there might be some minor differences that they made with the sculpt and scan in this Elite Series 119, but you can tell that they basically copied their homework from 5-6 years ago, and that's a little disappointing. But I will say that face sculpt and scan, I think it does look a lot better in hand. I think it's pretty good. However, we need a updated sculpt and scan. They don't need to be copying their homework from 5 to 6 years ago because it worked then. Because this is 2025. Liv has changed with her look, and we deserve to have a new sculpt and scan. So, yeah, you know, these are very cool figures. And honestly, I had her basic 110 figure on standby because this is maybe my favorite women's basic of all time. I freaking love this figure. It looks great. I love the pink hair. I love this attire. And this Liv review, when I dropped it on the channel, was like the first review that got a lot of views early on in LumberJillville. So this figure is special to me. But I love this basic. But yeah, we were just kind of throwing up some of her elites here. And I think it's a no-brainer. I think Elite 85 is Liv Morgan's best elite. But I would say second place, it's pretty close between these two. However, I think Elite 69 really does portray her character, her gimmick, her look from the time period better than today's figure. figures. So it would go first, second, and third place. But I do think today's figure is pretty cool. All right, so let's cover articulation. And as I mentioned, this figure is really loosey-goosey. I think that plastic melted from being left out in the sun, and that's why her joints are so loose. But anyway, her head doesn't move like at all, and it's because that long hair sculpt over her shoulders, so it is what it is there. Shoulders on a ball joint can move in all different directions. We have the upper bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, they can really flex. The wrists can rotate, they can extend up, flex down. We have the upper torso swivel there, which is super loose on this figure. We have a waist swivel. The hip is on a ball joint, can move in all different directions. We have an upper thigh swivel there. We have double jointed knees, and because of those high knee pads to look like an extension of her boots, we do have some limited motion there. And then we have an upper boot swivel, and her feet can rock side to side. They can planar flex and dorsiflex down. We have a lot of good movement in the feet. So yeah, as articulation goes, I mean, this is the best articulated Liv Morgan that we got. So I'm really excited to do some fig photography with this figure. All right, so overall, I give WWE Elite Series 119 Liv Morgan an overall score of a 7 out of 10. I think they could have done a lot better with this figure, and that's what it comes down to. I think it's above average. I think it's a good start to this Liv look that she's had the last couple years, and I really, really hope that we have more Elites and Ultimates of Liv coming very soon. She deserves it. But on the other hand, it's been 2 years since her last Elite, and it's not much better. They went back in time and used an old sculpt and scan that they might have modified a little bit, but it's pretty much the same sculpt and scan, and I don't really know if that works on a modern day Liv. And it definitely doesn't work with this hair. This hair is just so plain, so boring, and they've shown on some of their women's figures, the Kairi Sane, the Zoe Stark, that they can add some details to the hair color that makes a figure look so much better. And this Liv Morgan has no detail to her hair. She should have had dark roots shown, maybe some streaks. That would have been great. That really would have made this figure much better, but we didn't get that. So 1 step forward, 2 steps back for Mattel with their women's figures. Now, also, her attire is pretty freaking boring. Now, in retrospect, the Dirty Dom printed on her top should be larger print, but that's not a huge deal to me. But either way, it's a pretty simple attire. I think it looks good, but I think there's so many more attires that would have looked better in the Elite line, in my opinion. Now, as this figure stands, it is my 4th favorite Liv, okay? And Liv has had a pretty good amount of figures, but in 2025, I expect a Liv Morgan Elite to at least be in my top 3, and this one just isn't. You know, my ranking goes Elite 85, number 1. Elite 69, number 2. Basic 110, number 3. And this Liv, number 4. So yeah, it's a bit of a disappointment. I hate to see that because Liv is arguably one of the biggest superstars in WWE right now. And this figure came out at a great time. It took them a while to release it, but at least it came out now when she's on top. Now, she does have a shoulder injury right now, but that shouldn't stop Mattel from producing more Liv figures, and I hope she has a speedy recovery. Liv is honestly not just an amazing, beautiful person, but she is awesome in the ring. And I watched her when she first debuted in NXT, and she has made so many strides and progress that I think her talent, her wrestling talent, gets overlooked sometimes, but it shouldn't be because she's a fantastic competitor, and I hope she gets back to the ring soon. So yeah, I think there's better Liv Morgans out there. I think this is a good figure, but just not great. Thanks for stopping by LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. To get a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews, make sure to hit subscribe and become an official resident of LJV today. Now, hopefully that Ultimate Edition Bayley comes very soon to LJV, but until then, look for a lot more women's wrestling figure-related content. Also, I'll be going to the NXT Great American Bash. I plan on doing a video about that. And then Sunday, July 13th, I will be doing a live watch-along of Evolution right here in LumberJillville. I'll have a lot of giveaways, prizes, trivia. It'll be a good time, so make sure to come back to LumberJillville for Evolution. That being said, thanks for watching, and have a great night, y'all.